Good morning, guys. This is Unit 2, Day 1 notes. And in Unit 2, we're going to look at logic, like conditional statements. Today, we're going to go over also biconditional. So we're going to go over inductive reasoning is reasoning based on patterns. A conjecture is a conclusion you reach using our inductive reasoning. And sometimes my conclusion or my conjecture is false, and a counterexample is going to be an example showing that it's false. And we'll do an example right here. It says, what is a counterexample for the following? If the name of the month starts with the letter J, then it is a summer month. So let's think about a name of the month. We have June, but that's a summer month. July starts with J, but that's a summer month. What about January? January starts with the letter J, but it is not a summer month. So in order to write a counterexample, the hypothesis has to be true. We have to assume that this part is true. So we're talking about months that start with J, and we're going to prove that the conclusion is not true. So it is a summer month. January is in winter. Okay, all four-sided figures are rectangles. Can you think of a four-sided figure that's not a rectangle? What about a trapezoid? Trapezoids have four sides, but that's not a rectangle. Or a parallelogram. A parallelogram has four sides, but it's not a rectangle. The sum means add, of two integers. Integers are just whole numbers. They can be positive or negative. Is always a positive number. Well, let's think about this. What if we have like 1 plus 3? 1 plus 3 is 4, but that's a positive number, right? We're trying to prove that it's not always a positive number. What about -1 plus -3? -1 plus -3 is -4, and -4 is not a positive number, so this is my counter example. The negation or opposite of a statement is symbolized by this tilde. It's called a tilde. So the negation of I am going, we're going to usually put a not in there, not. So I am not going. The negation of something that's already negative. I am not awake. If we're going to do the opposite of that, then we're going to take it out and we're going to say I am awake. That's the opposite of I am not awake. Okay? So a conditional statement. So a conditional statement has two parts. We have a hypothesis, which is after the word if, and the symbol for the hypothesis is going to be P. We use this almost exclusively for the hypothesis. And a conclusion, which is after the then, and the symbol for the conclusion is Q. Okay, so we need you to have two colors. You guys, you need two colors for this activity. We are going to underline the hypothesis with one color. So grab like a highlighter or a colored pencil, I would recommend. Maybe a crayon if you need it. And then we're going to circle the conclusion. Okay. Remember, your hypothesis is the one that's after the if. So cross out the if. That's not part of your hypothesis. My hypothesis is it is noon in Virginia. My conclusion is after the then, so cross out the then. That's not part of your conclusion. It's after the then. So my conclusion is it is 9 a.m. in California. That's my conclusion, and I circled it. we're going to underline the hypothesis and circle the conclusion. Remember, my hypothesis is after the if, so I'm going to cross out the if. My hypothesis is an angle measures more than 90 degrees. This is your hypothesis, or P. Oh, and less than 180. It's part of the hypothesis. Your conclusion is going to be after the then. So write it, after then. So cross out the then. After the then is, it is an obtuse angle. This is my conclusion. Q. You guys can try number 2. Okay, it says, this is a really good example. We're going to be doing this. Making a conditional statement from sentences not in if-then form. How do we put it into if-then form? So a conditional statement means it has to have an if and a then. 2 points are collinear. That means they're on the same line if they lie on the same line, okay? So if they lie on the same line, this is getting my hypothesis. The rest of it is going to be my conclusion. 2 points are collinear. Now they want me to write it in if-then form. So I have to have an if, and then I have to have a then. Okay. If, whatever is after the if, they lie on the same line, or if 2 points lie on the same line, then 2 points are collinear, or then they are collinear. I'll do it in blue so you guys can see. Then they are collinear. All right, all fish swim. To make it a conditional statement, we need an if and a then. So if it is a fish, then it can swim. All right, I want you guys to try the C, the third one. Now we know what a conditional statement is. We have P, then Q. Now we're going to look at the converse. The converse of the original statement is symbolized by, so we know that my conditional statement is, the conditional is P, arrow, Q. My converse is going to have the conclusion first and then my hypothesis. And I remember this by the first 2 letters is CO. And that just means to change the order. Okay, the converse of a statement is written by flipping the hypothesis, goes last, and then the conclusion. If it is my geometry textbook, then it is blue. This is my conditional statement. So I'm going to underline my hypothesis. It is my geometry textbook. And circle my conclusion after the then. It is blue. So they wrote it for us. My converse is Q first. So if it is blue, then our hypothesis. It is my geometry textbook. The inverse is symbolized by not P. We're going to negate P and not Q. We're going to leave it in the same order, but we're going to negate both. So I remember this by the first 2 letters, I, N, is I negate. So the inverse, if it is raining, then practice is canceled. We're going to put not in there. If it is not raining, then practice is, and then we're going to put in here not canceled. We're just going to insert a not. If it is not raining, then practice is not canceled. All we did was we put not P and not Q. Not raining, not canceled. The contrapositive is kind of a mixture of both the converse and the inverse. So contrapositive is symbolized by not Q, then not P. So we're flipping them and we're negating them. I remember this by the first three letters, C-O-N. C-O, remember, means change order. Oops, I don't know what happened. And N means negate and negate. Okay? So the converse of if we are in Virginia, then we are not in Texas. Remember, after the if is my hypothesis, and after the then is my conclusion, my Q. We're going to write the conclusion first, and we're going to negate it. We are not in Texas, but we have to negate it. But it already has a not, so we're going to have to take it out. If we are in Texas, then we have to negate it, not in Virginia. So don't forget the not in this one, but we took out the not in this one. All right, I want you guys to try these examples, and I just want to go over the biconditional with you real quick. First, it says if the original statement is true, then only the contrapositive is always true, always. The biconditional is formed by joining the two parts of the conditional with if and only. You're going to see this if, okay? So both the conditional and the converse have to be true to make it a biconditional statement. So my conditional statement is if an angle is a right angle, then it is equal to 90 degrees. My converse means we're going to flip it. We're going to change the order. If an angle is equal to 90 degrees, then it is a right angle. And this is how we're going to make it biconditional. I'm going to drop the if and the then. And where the then used to be, I'm going to write this if and only if. Okay? Sometimes you'll see it like this, IFF. And I'm just going to rewrite it for you. An angle is a right angle if and only if it is equal to 90 degrees. All right, I want you guys to try these examples, and we will help you on a couple of these when you come back to class, okay? So have a good night, everyone. Leave